Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, my name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is the Question Guy podcast. I'm here with Maribeth Decker, and she has such a unique and amazing story to share with us today. I'm going to let her share it, but it has to do with a really close friend of yours, but this friend was a dog, yes?
Yes.
Yes. And so please share this story because I think it's going to inspire and motivate people to get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to almost start backwards with my story. Um, I, my, let's see, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, I lost out of five animals in my family. I lost two dogs and one cat in 5 weeks. And it was a terrible time for myself, my husband, my other two cats. Uh, and it really got me in my heart because I had written a book on animal transitions for people to help them through it, pet transitions, and I was reliving everything.
Mm.
Like it was like, oh, it was a reminder. So I was so glad I was an animal communicator. But if I go way back,
Well,
um,
well, because you just
okay,
mentioned
no,
animal
please.
communicators, so we don't know what that is just yet. So
Okay, so
how
that's
can we
why I
pick up
wanted
that part of the
to.
story?
All right, so now I go back to the animal communicator part. So I apologize for, jumping. I back about 15 years ago, I was starting to take some energy healing courses. Some people know Reiki, but it's a way of doing healing. Um, a lot of it's remote, long distance, and so I was open to many things. And all of a sudden, my dogs started communicating with me. And what was very strange was the first two that communicated with me had already passed. My beloved dog, Timmy, he was sitting in the dining room. And I have to say, it was as if he was sitting in the dining room. It wasn't like these ghostly things where you look through them and you see. No, it looked like he was right there. And he just smiled at me. He had the old one ear up and one ear down, which he always had, and the big grin. And then I was in the kitchen. Timmy, and he was gone.
Oh, but he was already passed to begin with.
He had already passed.
Oh, okay, so he was
Okay,
just
but that's what made it so amazing. He
okay,
was as clear to me as you are. And like, I didn't think this stuff happened.
right.
In the moment, I knew one, he survived death. Two, his little personality, his big personality lived on. And he came back to tell me he was okay. So I thought, well, that's interesting. I got to finish the dinner for the kids.
Really, that was the big thing, and you let it go?
Yeah, yeah, well, kids got to be fed.
Okay,
So, right, right. So, because I didn't know what to do with it. All right, let me just be honest with you.
right.
Um, and then I had some others. My dog Eddie, who had also passed. Uh, she's a girl. Kids named her. We
Okay.
were. I was on a plane going to a meeting, which I was going to have to staff for this great association I worked for at the time. But she had just passed. And if anybody who really loves their animals know how hard it is to do your job when you're mourning, that's
Yeah.
where I was. So all of a sudden I feel, and I'm sitting in the aisle seat, and I feel her presence on the floor next to me. And I must have been the crazy lady because I'm just like petting my dog who has passed because I can feel her presence. Like
In the plane in the aisle of the plane.
on the plane. I'm like,
Wow.
I hope you know, I just feel like it's some crazy lady because I'm doing this because I can feel her presence so much. And she stayed with me the first night uh, as my comfort. And this is the one who passed. And you think, well, actually, you think they're the ones that need comfort, but she was there comforting me. And I had a a little bit of time to regroup so I could get out there and staff the meeting. And it was such a gift. So I had a
Why do you
couple other
think she joined you at that particular time? I'm wondering because was that going to be stressful for you to run
very
this?
stressful.
Okay.
Uh, I had a picture of me handing out leaflets as I cried, which is really not what your boss wants you to do
But
when you're staffing their annual meeting,
right,
like, Maribeth, what's the matter? Nothing. I'm fine. So, so through the way I interpret it,
okay.
through her love, she somehow connected with me and spent a little bit of time with me to again let me know she was okay. And that gave me the strength to do what I had to do. And it was meant a mental mind to mind communication. And yet, so you understand that my mind experienced it as my dog sitting by my side.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it opens up some questions for me, but I don't know if I want to interrupt your story for questions
Okay.
just yet.
I'll give you two more on my story and then
Go ahead.
we'll go. Okay. So
Okay.
then we get to the dogs who are still on the planet. um, my dog Mitsubishi was a wonderful husky, Siberian husky. Uh,
Mm,
he and Eddie were very close. They were bonded, and I had tried to do some healing for her because there was some pain and things involved, and she passed anyway because everybody passes, right? Them's the rules as far as I know. Later on, after Eddie had passed, Mitsubishi was getting where his back end was really hurting. And I thought, let me do some energy healing because I've learned from my humans that can decrease the pain. So he's on the couch with me. I got my hands on him. And it was the first real conversation I ever had. He looked at me, and at the time, I thought to myself, if that boy could talk, he just said, don't try that crap on me, and killed me. And he popped and jumped off the couch and walked away, like not having it. I'm
wow.
like,
He did talk to you.
he did talk to me, yeah. But at the time, I'm like, what the heck? So I
What
went
was he
back.
not wanting? What was he afraid
He
of?
didn't want the energy because he saw me doing the energy on her, and then he
Yeah.
saw it pass. So he made a
Oh,
wrong assumption
okay.
that caused it. Of course, no, I'm not saying of course.
Right, right. But that's what he's thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
he's thinking. And
yeah.
sometimes they do. They see something and they make a. So I went back and said, no, I think I eased it. She had an easier transition, when she passed, but I didn't do it. And he let me do some stuff for him afterwards.
Okay. So
Okay.
you were able to talk with him and kind of
I,
help
I
him
was.
understand. Yeah,
I was.
yeah.
Um, and then I finally, with my guy Tibor, I'm looking at his picture over here. He's the guy who got me into doing this on purpose as a profession. Uh,
Your dog?
yeah, my dog, this guy.
Ah,
He's one of
wow.
the guys. Yeah, he's a cutie. He just passed in November. He came from a rough background. Sometimes you get rescue animals and you know a little bit about their background. And then I intuited some of it too. And it was hard. But I started seeing visions from him, and it was the same thing. And it was a picture in my mind. When I say vision, there's nothing magical about it other than it happened more than once.
Right.
And it was a picture of a guy in a thick suit with a big, like a German Shepherd chasing him, which how they teach dogs to like take down people
Okay.
or guard. And I saw that twice and I said, okay, it's time. I get it. I need to get some training because I thought I made it up. But when I saw it the second time, I knew it was something coming from him. And I finally listened and said, okay, I got to do this for people. And I started working with people and their pets after that. So thank you for letting me tell you the 4 stories that got
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The first question that really popped into my mind was why? Why is it important? Why is talking and communicating with your pets important to both the pet and the human?
So we have transitioned, I think, a lot of us to seeing our pets as family members.
Like
My joke,
brother, sister, son, daughter, yeah, mom. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
brother,
Yeah,
sister, son, daughter, companion, beloved companion, um, close friend, like the one I can talk to when I can't talk to anybody else,
right.
the one who smiles at me when I come home, because no matter what kind of a day. And in that place, we have a real heart connection. If we can start to add in the intuitive stuff about like what would make you happy, or why are you doing that thing you're doing that's driving me nuts, or um, here's what I need from you. Here's what you need from me. Even like as you're getting older, how are you feeling? Do you want to continue treatment, or do you want to do we just move to the hospice modality now and saying goodbye?
Hmm.
Um, there's another dimension that we can access if we start doing the intuitive connecting with them, which is very satisfying.
I would think part of the why, at least for me to understand what you're doing, is because even humans have a difficult time talking with other humans. And if they could forgive my silliness here, if they can practice with their companions, it may even be easier for humans to talk with other humans to really become close, not, not sexually intimately, but in a friend, understand, be emotionally, psychologically open, transparent, like you are with now with your animals, your pets, and present and deceased.
Yeah,
So,
that's a
so my,
beautiful thought. Thank you. Please keep going. I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, no, all good. But and I say that because I'm moving into a different series of conversations that I'm having with people, more focused on mental health issues. And there is such a disconnection with human to human within the family, outside of the family. But that's another conversation altogether. So the value that you have is to teach people that we're going to get into this part of the conversation, to communicate with their pets, their animals. I think that will open up a doorway or something for them to become better people with the people around them. I'm thinking, maybe.
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping, yeah.
You know, that is so lovely. My kind of slant on it is when, how do I say it? When we start to open our hearts up even more to animals and see the intuitive connection and the how much we can do for each other when we connect heart to heart, and I might even say soul to soul.
Mhm.
I hope we take that and say, gee, maybe we could be this nice to humans as well. Or, if we have a little more, how do you say it? We give our animals a little more grace for their imperfect behaviors. Maybe we could move that out to the human race too. And
It would be nice to see.
it
But
would be.
but you said you now do this professionally. So that means you teach people, if I get this right, you teach people how to talk to their living pets or their deceased pets or both?
It's really a both, depending on it's really both. People
Okay.
find that making the connection, the because it's you could say mind to mind. You might even think of an electrical or some kind of energetic. Since they still, in my experience,
Hmm.
they still exist in that different realm. I don't know how to describe it. So yes, the connecting is the same.
Okay.
Uh, they're just living in a different kind of a different atmosphere, a different place.
So who has to, but you teach people how to connect
I
with
do.
animals. And so that means people need to learn how to think differently because I'm not sure how that, I don't know how that works, to be quite
It's
honest.
um
Be more spiritual.
it's really interesting. Okay.
I mean, I was just,
I know, I've been wrestling with how would I explain this?
okay.
Um, I'll use an analogy. There are, okay, there are frequencies that
Okay.
one can pick up. So you, okay, you know, you think of lightning, particularly, or thunder. Either one of those, if you're close enough and if it's big enough, you experience that frequency in your body.
Hmm.
So our nervous system, now I'm going to say this because it works with animals and people who are alive. We are thinking, our emotions have a frequency. You could think of it as the nervous system, the brain firing off. That's not just in the body, it goes off and can be picked up. Uh, you think of the frequency of hearing, there's a frequency there that our ears pick up.
Hmm.
Our brain is already, it's our brain that says, ah, yeah, that's Dr. Keith talking. Huh, okay. And he's speaking English, thank God. Okay, we can translate it. But even frequencies on a different level can still get that energy, that vibration can come into the head, and it will translate things for you if you practice, do some practice and learn some techniques.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And so that's understandable. And so we know that we hear at different decibel levels. And so, but this takes the idea that energy is being transmitted at different frequency levels and that energy is transferring information. Um, and for those who are more technical in nature, I'll kind of equate this to we send signals over radio waves, and that's how we pick up, radio through in our cars or wherever through an antenna. Very similar in kind of metaphorical nature. We're picking up that signal, and we just gotta tune that dial in um, to pick up the signal.
Exactly. Thank you for that
I have an
inclusion.
IT background.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Perfect.
But once you learn how to do that, do each animal, and so, once we're connected to a signal, we're going to pick up everything that's being transmitted on that signal wherever it is, as long as we're in range. That's the technical element. With the human to animal connection, do animals communicate? So now I got to get technical, but do animals communicate on a certain frequency or different, and you may not know the answer, and so forgive me if there is no answer to this. Do different animals communicate on different frequencies? And maybe that's a obscure question that's not relevant to the conversation.
No, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure I have the answer. I'm going to explain it the way I understand it right now.
Please.
Um, I have to go to the field of quantum mechanics to
Sure.
get any of this, for any of this to make sense.
Right.
That there's somewhere in the field of quantum mechanics is where the vibrations are and where the connections are. And so it is not a matter of physical location. It is it is not a matter of being in the same time as the other one, it's time and distance don't seem to make a difference. Having a physical body doesn't seem to make a difference. You just need somebody who's still vibrating.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay,
So let's
good.
go back to the human animal, the experience. What do the people that you work with tell you is the greatest gift of being able to reconnect with their loved ones, their
Okay.
animals?
The greatest gift is a sense of knowing more about what their animal, their pet, their dog, their cat, their horse, whatever wants or needs, and also the joy of even sometimes negotiating better behaviors.
Well, I
You
wanted to
know,
move that conversation into a bit more of a practical sense. Yeah.
that's most
Yeah.
of the. I do a lot of practical stuff here.
Okay.
We're talking about kitties using the litter boxes more often, and my latest. I have two new dogs after we got them, and my one dog Newt was getting jealous
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
the other, and we used animal communication to remind him that I love him dearly. There's enough love to go around. Every treat she gets, he'll get. Every belly rub, and he backed off. I saw a real change in behavior. And when those things happen, man, they're good. So there's a really practical use to this.
My dog, I'm gonna Benji. Um,
Yeah,
I don't want you to diagnose anything here.
no, I don't
But
either.
I'm just gonna give you his story from the human's perspective. He is n now mostly blind. Um, so a good year, maybe a year, a little over a year, he's slowly his behavior changed. And
Mhm.
so initially his behavior changed, started eating more, and then um, started literally bumping into the furniture and not knowing where things are. And so took him to the vet. He's diagnosed with, because there's all the tests came out negative, which means there's nothing viral or bacterial or whatever that's infecting his eyes. It's genetic, per se. And he was a rescue from the pound. Diagnosed with SARD, so a sudden acquired retinal degenerative syndrome, slowly going blind. And so there was a whole lot of transition for him. And so I can imagine, just like anybody who once has sight and then loses it, there's a whole different level of fear, anxiety. And so these would be typical emotions. And now, and this is a year past, so almost a year past, that he seems to be, I don't know, more blind. And so I don't know the word for blind. There's not a blinder, but he's losing more of his sight. Even like I think he saw shadows because he was able to navigate the
Yeah.
house once he kind of adjusted to his situation. But now he's less able to navigate, especially going down the stairs. And so I literally have to walk him because he's normally, I'm upstairs above the garage, and so he's normally right here with me during the day. So I can imagine. Well, I almost want to, but I don't want to. Just my personal, that would freak me out to be able to talk to my dog. But um, I would see the value in that to help him understand that I understand, and then if I can help him in any way, or not even help, comfort, I guess is the better way of putting
That's
it.
good. Well, yeah.
Well, I was going to
Well,
say, do you have people who have like blind or sick dogs that you can teach?
I have
Well,
my Stella, the one, one of the two dogs. Okay, I got my, because I love these guys so much. I still have their pictures. Stella.
wow.
She went blind
Oh, okay.
gradually.
Okay.
Okay. So So I don't have to mess with you guys. I can tell you my own story.
Please.
What I was getting is like, how can I help? And what comes through is it's almost like it's your own voice coming through, except it's probably not. But my little dog, what she needed more touch. And I also got a reminder of how she liked to jump up on the bed when she had more mobility.
Hmm.
And so I would start to take her, and so she's probably this tall. She was this tall. Put her little paws up on the side of the bed like she used to do and say, "Do you want to come up on the bed now?" And she'd go, and we would bring her up because she
Right.
refused to use the ramp or anything else. And she had so much joy in that. And we had just stopped because she couldn't do it anymore. And I got reminded that she loved that. So it was like, what a gift. Okay. And so there were a couple other things where I felt like she communicated, or we were just tuned into each other, that this was very enjoyable for her. Uh, we figured out a way to take her to the park where she could just sniff and walk in circles, and she knew by her nose that we were still there, and she could get yippy yappy, and so we still saw ways for her to have a good time, and it was almost like she was reminding us that these were the things she loved to do. uh, if that makes So I believe it was coming from her, and I was tuned in to say, I wonder what else we could do to keep her engaged.
Yeah, because earlier in the conversation you said there was some intuition or intuitive thinking that's in part of all this. So
Yeah.
where are you on the web, or where do you hang out?
I
How can
hang
people
out at
find you?
I hang out at sacredgrove.com.
Okay.
Uh, SACRED Grove. It's not Scary Grove or Sacred Groove. No, I've been asked about two of them.
So
No,
sacredgrove.com, I'll put that in the description.
thank you.
Anywhere else that we can, is that your
Uh,
primary, that's where
that is
people
my
can,
primary place to find me, to find out what I do. Yeah, yeah.
okay. So with that, please, for those who are watching, listening, and really want to talk to you about re-engaging in some type of, even if it's just to say goodbye to a deceased pet, tell our audience the value of actually doing that.
The value of doing that. I might get a little teary here. A lot of people end up um, beating themselves up. Did they let them go too long? Did they end too early? Are they are they mad at me? How are they doing?
Mm.
Um, Having a bit of a conversation before and setting up, telling them how it's going to be if you are going to you're going to do the euthanasia part, and even checking on them afterwards if that's what people believe in. It relieves that burden of guilt. Uh, you can't leave, the grief doesn't disappear, but that extra stuff, you feel like you connected, they're okay with it, and they love you still. And that's a good reassurance for people at the end.
Mary Beth, thank you so much for that insight and, of course, for this conversation. For those who are watching, listening, I thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.